When kids don't play, they grow up without imagination. Then it's all small talk and awkward weather chats. Good thing Gushers, Fruit by the Foot, and Fruit Roll-Ups are made to be played with. You better be playing.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the ultimate first day energy back to school. It all starts with on-trend outfits for that front door photo shoot. Plus, the coolest tees, shorts, and jeans to take them through the rest of the year. Get them ready for their close-up and keep them comfy too. Make this grade their best one yet. Shop all things back to school, in-store, online, and in the app.
The studio was also like, it's not violent enough. We're going to get you a violence coach to make it more violent. And he was like, oh my God. So he wrote in the whole Connie and Carlo fighting scene while she's pregnant to be like, is that enough violence for you guys? Like, I'll have a man beat a pregnant woman. And they're like, okay, great, thanks. This is perfect.
Welcome to episode 212 of Film Generations, where two guys from the 20th century select a classic movie to show a panel of young film lovers and see if it still plays for today's generation. I'm Mark Netter. I'm a filmmaker and instructor at the Los Angeles Film School, and I am co-founder and CEO of ElectraCast Media.
I'm David Tausik. I'm a writer, director, and a film buff.
I'm Kylee LaRue. I am a graduate of USC and now a writer for mxdwn.com.
And I'm Grace Chapman. I'm a recent graduate of the Los Angeles Film School, and I also have my own podcast called The Femme Files, where I talk about women from different parts of history and redefine what feminism means.
And I'm Jake Flowers. I am a student at the Los Angeles Film School.
Hi, I'm Guy Lewis, and I'm a graduate of the Los Angeles Film School, and I like movies.
This is our final episode of Season 2 of Film Generations, and with each season, David and I have tried to represent different genres at least once every season, whether it's horror, noir, western, foreign film, whatever it might be. And we've ended each season with an epic, a genre which typically focuses on heroic deeds by elevated heroes taking place over a passage of years and defines something profound about a nation or a people's. We ended our first 12-episode season with Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. Well, 31 years later came a very different American epic, The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, from a screenplay by Coppola and Mario Puzo, the author of the best-selling novel. Very briefly, The Godfather is about an Italian-American family from 1945 to 1955 that runs an organized crime racket as one of the 5 families of New York and New Jersey. Don Vito Corleone was born in Italy and has risen to the top role of Godfather. His 4 sons, potential heirs to the throne, are the hot-headed Sonny, the weak Fredo, the adopted Irish son, Tom Hayden, and the Ivy League soldier, Michael. The plot of the movie is simple: mob war. Vito is severely wounded in an assassination attempt by a competing family, and the Corleones struggle under Sonny's leadership until, spoiler alert, the clean-cut Michael steps up and shows what he's capable of. Along the way, we enjoy some of the most gorgeously evocative period costumes, cars, lighting, music and camera work, and a seemingly endless wealth of rich and indelible performances. So let's see if our panel found The Godfather an offer they can't refuse. First question, was this anyone's first time seeing The Godfather?
No.
When did you first see The Godfather, and how was it different from this time?
I think the first memory I have of The Godfather is it just being like in the background. I don't remember actively watching it as a young kid, but I remember it playing at friends' houses, just knowing what it was, it being in my consciousness, and like knowing who the characters were, I guess. My mom loved Marlon Brando, so I think that must have been the reason that she was playing it.
And what was it like for you this time?
It was daunting that the movie was so long.
We were watching it together, right? For the first time?
Yeah. Grace and I watched it, and I was like, okay, this is like a guy's movie. So I immediately resented the story. And then I got sucked into it and was like, oh, wait, I love it. I see why it's a classic.
Kylee, you were going to speak.
It's one that my dad made me promise to watch with him the first time, like as I got older. And I watched it when I was 16 and I wasn't super into it, actually. And it was a whole fight with my family because we're Italian. So it was a whole huge thing. And I've never watched it since. But yeah, I watched it again this time and I was totally like, I was wrong, guys. I apologize to my family, but it was great. And I loved it. And when I was younger, I don't know, I just didn't get it. I really just wasn't old enough and experienced enough to understand how good every single part of it was.
When we did Citizen Kane 12 episodes ago, you had the same thing where you said in film school you would fall asleep during Citizen Kane. You called it nap time. But then when you saw it for Film Generations, you were completely blown away. So is it a similar type feeling?
I think so. I also just being Italian American, The Godfather is shoved in my face since I was born all the time. So it was like, if I didn't like it, then I was super cool and different and not my family. I think I was just so stubborn back then too. I've done a lot of growth and like I'm not afraid to like everything popular because I'm basic. And now that I've embraced it, I can enjoy like the cultural zeitgeist way more now.
So you're like Michael, you've come back to the family.
100%. Oh yeah.
I want to go to Grace because you were talking about you and Jake watching it together for the first time. And then what was that like compared to this time?
Like Kylee, like I've grown a bit, so I had a different lens this time. And I was just really looking for the different little clues in there, knowing what I know now.
Guy, what about you?
I got into the Godfather really heavy because of hip hop music. There was these gangster movies that like every hip hop artist pretty much referenced in some way, shape, or form. And that still kind of goes on today. As I fell in love with movies in general, you keep seeing echoes of the Godfather everywhere. You know, as you have conversation about movies, it's only a matter of time before it gets brought up.
So how did you feel watching it this time?
I was watching the montage at the christening because that part slaps. It's the great. It's so good. Sunday night, I gotta watch, part 2 because I can't watch part 1 and then not immediately watch part 2. It's just one of those things you do,
I totally got it. David.
I saw it in a theater when it came out. I was 13 years old. And I just remember this film was tearing up the box office. Everybody's talking about it. I wanted to see it. And then there's this question of, would my parents let me go see this really violent film that was rated R? And to their credit, they let me go. I didn't go with them, but I went with some friends and other parents. Since I didn't know what I was going to see, I was really surprised by a whole bunch of things. The whole new Hollywood thing of, dark light, you can hardly see what's going on. That seemed crazy to me. That was kind of revelatory. All these great performances with old actors and new actors. So you had all the new kind of style of acting, but you had like old stalwarts. The film really made a huge impact on me. And it was such a melange of stuff. It's really a kind of a potboiler in one sense, right? Like a little bit like an exploitation flick, but at the same time, you could tell there was something very serious and deep going on.
Were you able to get something from this viewing that at all deepened the experience?
Oh, totally. Every time I see it, it's deeper because it's so good. Every scene has something good to it. And even the scenes that are just bits of exposition, there's all this color and there's family drama going on. The actors are doing something interesting. The camera's doing something interesting, the lighting and the set design. Just every scene is a winner. So I enjoy it every time.
I was 12 in 1972, and my parents deemed me too young to see The Godfather, which was odd because later that year, my father took me to see my first R-rated movie, and that was Deliverance, which I would argue might be more scarring than The Godfather.
Yeah.
Although I also think that Deliverance shoots it in such a way you don't really know what's going on. But I actually saw Godfather 2 before Godfather because 2 years later it comes out. I'm 14 years old. So I went to see Godfather 2 completely blown away. Like I'd never seen such a grown-up, interesting, complex, mind-blowing movie. And then later saw Godfather, and I've seen it a few times in the theater. And I have to say, I just loved watching it again this time. I think there's always something to get out of it. I think the movie has incredible balance to it between the detail and the sweep. To keep the conversation going over here, let's start with favorite moments in the movie.
I think my favorite moment every time I've seen it is when Michael goes to the hospital and he's like putting the pieces together that there's no one on guard.
Do you guys feel that in that scene, we are identifying more with Michael or more with Enzo?
I think when he was like shitting his pants scared, I was like, that would be me.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
I was Michael, I'd just be like, this guy's an asshole. Like, just kill him,
Enzo was so cool to me because Michael was like, hey, you should leave. You got to run. And he's like, no, I'll stay for your father.
Mhm.
He knows it's about to go down, but he's like, hey,
He does it even though he's scared.
I'm here for the Godfather. You know what I'm saying?
You do shift from Michael to Enzo for that moment. And a lot of characters in the movie have that moment where they just take over and you're in their head. And I found myself identifying with a lot of people in this movie at different times, even people you don't like. The moment where they're about to get whacked or whatever, you feel for them. You're put into their heads a little bit. It's not all just following a couple of main characters around. It's an incredible ensemble piece.
Grace, what about you? Do you have a favorite moment?
I have so many, but I think my ultimate favorite moment is when Don Vito dies. Not because he's dying, but it's just like such an emotional scene, especially for a man in his line of work to have such like a beautiful death, I guess, like playing with his grandchild, like there's just so many ways he could have died. And I don't know, it always brings tears to my eyes, that scene. It's just so beautiful. And then I also really love when Sonny's beating up his brother-in-law. I rewound it a few times and watched it.
Yeah. Evidently, James Caan went a little too far and broke a couple ribs.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it looked real.
Guy, what about you? Favorite scene?
Well, that's one of the favorites. This whole movie is full of favorite scenes.
So
to
hard
be
to pick.
honest.
yeah.
The montage, I don't see how you don't say the montage
Yeah.
is the best part.
So this is the climax of the movie where Michael's becoming godfather to his niece. She's being baptized, which, by the way, is played by Sofia Coppola as a baby, her first screen appearance. And it's intercut with him basically eliminated the 4 other heads of the 5 families in New York, New Jersey, having them assassinated. Incredibly powerful scene.
It's a class in telling story without dialogue. He's in the church, but he's doing the devil's work. I mean, it's just so brilliant. You know what I'm saying?
He's specifically asked by the priest, do you reject Satan?
Oh,
Kylee, what about you?
I mean, so much of it is just so reminiscent of just like the regular Sunday dinners that my family and I always have. Like, it really does take so much just from like the Italian American culture. But like, I would say just like to keep it like more cinematic, like it's the 2 sound design moments for me, which is the train audio in the restaurant. And it's the audio of when Enzo's walking up the stairs and you can hear his footsteps, but you can't tell where he is on the stairs and who it is. And Michael gets the pressure put on him and he just acts and he thinks and he's very quiet and calm. The noise is prevalent, but he's just so still that you kind of see like the pressure make him into like the dawn eventually. So those 2 moments, I love just what Al Pacino does, almost not speaking at all and just hearing what's around him.
David, do you have a favorite?
Well, I remember when I saw it, the scene, besides the baptism scene, that really got the audience going was the horsehead scene, because it was such a shock. I mean, now I love every scene, but that is an amazing scene.
I'm going to go kind of agree with Kylee a bit, the scene where Michael assassinates Sollozzo. We're in film noir territory with this scene. This movie has a number of different genres in it. It's mostly a gangster movie, which is film noir adjacent. But it's really very noir. The whole nighttime in the restaurant, you can almost feel like you're there. And obviously the rising sound of the subway that mirrors Michael's rising fury as he's getting ready to kill. But also you got Sterling Hayden as the corrupt police chief. And for people who know anything about his work from the 50s, a little bit in the 40s, Sterling Hayden always played these really tough guys. And so for him to be coming back for a movie like this is kind of amazing. The way he gets shot in the throat.
Yeah, I love how he dies.
You have this great lead-up scene where Clemenzo is basically telling him how to use the gun and how it's not traceable. And it's like a dad teaching a kid how to hammer in a nail for Pinewood Derby, right? And, he's given Michael these lessons. He says, when you come out blazing and then just drop the gun. And Michael doesn't do either of those things. he comes back and he sits down and you're dying because he's supposed to start shooting. And I think that's when we fall in love with Michael, because we want him to be our angel of retribution at that moment. And I think this gets to what makes this movie problematic and really interesting, is that I think this movie is about Michael's success. And I don't know that it is really a tragedy. I'd love to know what you guys think. Like,
I think it's so tragic.
Okay. Explain why.
Well, just Santino being shot, everyone dying. It's just so tragic. I see what you're saying about Michael. Definitely it is about his success, but this movie just tears me up every time I watch it. It's so tragic.
The way the ending is shot makes me feel that Coppola wanted you to look at it as a tragedy, because you see it from Kate's point of view, and then Michael's there in the room alone, and they shut her out, and you're supposed to feel, oh my God, now he's a monster, and, and he's lost his connection to humanity. But that's not how I feel when I watch the movie. I identify with Michael, and I'm kind of happy for him that he won. And it gives me a very, weird, icky feeling, because I know that's wrong, but that's how I feel.
Let me ask, does anybody identify with Kay in the movie? Because she's the outsider.
When she's just so easily taken back into his gravity, the car pulls up and she gets in, and I'm like, girl, no, but I can relate to her so much. I think that was the tragedy for me, is that he pulled like an innocent bystander into his shitstorm. Yeah, multiple. One died.
Apollonia. Oh my gosh.
That was sad. That was.
How'd you guys feel about the trip to Italy?
I love those scenes.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to bring up with Michael when he goes to Italy. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this beautiful romance between these two Italian people, I want to love like that. But then watching it this time through like my healed lens, I'm like, he didn't care about her at all.
No.
He did not care about her.
What are you talking about?
He was just like,
oh,
no, I totally. Oh no, I thought he was totally in love with her.
I think he strong-armed her father. I mean, but in Italy, you can't have premarital sex, back then. So he kind of strong-armed her father into getting her hand for marriage so he can have sex with her. And then he knew he was a hunted man. He asked her father for permission with 2 armed guards behind him. How could he say no, That's what I got from it this time, that he kind of was just using her in a way. Not that he wanted her to die in a horrible explosion, but if he really cared about her, he should have maybe kept his distance to protect her, is all I'm saying.
I'll take some alternate viewpoints on that. Anybody?
I disagree. And
I mean, the first time I watched it, I was like, wow, that's the love of his life, but I just saw it from a completely, totally different place this time.
I just want to say, I'm not attacking you at all. That's important.
I'm not taking it that way.
that you feel
You're
safe.
a nervous guy.
Safe place
that
to
you
disagree.
Feel safe, and that your opinion is valuable. And
thank you.
And I've taken it all in. Now, how can you say that? You know what I'm saying? How can you say that? The guy when you watch his face when he first sees her, right? And it's not even just him, it's them. He sees her, he stops in his tracks. He's just staring. He's like, oh, he's just staring. And then she just softens. You know what I'm saying? She walks away and gives him the look back. This is how I know that there's some interest, right?
Does anyone notice like that when they go for their walk together, that incredible shot where they're walking alone and then suddenly you see the entire family's walking behind them, that she does like a fake trip so she can fall into his arms, and the family laughs because they know that she's walked this road like a zillion times.
Well, you're kind of both right, because Michael loves Kay, right? Or does he?
That's what I'm saying. Like, is he capable of love? Like,
I'd say he loves Kay, but there are things that are more important. So it's not the most important thing in his life. The thing that's most important is that the family stays in power.
Exactly.
And was Kay Italian? Was Kay Italian?
No, she's so waspy.
No.
Right. So I think that also has a kind of a thing to it. Like he really liked Kay, he's an American GI. That's how they hooked up, blah, 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 blah. But then he goes back to his home of origin. You know what I'm saying? I want to say motherland, but that doesn't feel right. No,
you can say motherland. Yeah.
No.
If it's Germany, it's fatherland. If it's Italy, it's motherland.
The point is he comes back and then he just, I'm Italian, you're Italian, we're Italians. Let's make little Italians. It was beautiful.
I think Michael's naive. And I think that he doesn't realize how much danger he's in. That's why he's able to get fooled by, was it Fabrizio? The one who...
It's like his closest guard, who they relied on, who was there with them. But Fabrizio did check, is your wife coming?
Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that when Michael has kind of realized, I may never be going back, and this is a way to reconnect with my roots. And this is all part of that evolution where Michael goes from being the great American dream. His father wanted him to be a senator, to be the puppet master, a governor, right? And Kay is an example of marrying into the American dream. It's like Jewish, Italian, whatever, guys marrying a waspy shiksa. If you were Jewish, I don't know what you say in Italian. But, somebody who is clearly not of your religion, and there's going to be some issues and things to iron out. So he goes back to Italy. Things are simpler. He may never get back to America. He has a chance to kind of almost be his father and marry a woman from the old country. And Grace, this is where I would disagree with you a little bit, as I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong, the wedding night scene, to me, is the trickiest scene in the whole movie. Because you don't want Michael to come across as a horrible husband or bad guy. And there really is this kind of interchange of consent that I think is going on. Whether the deck's stacked by the filmmakers or not, that's another question. But I think within the drama of it, he's very respectful. And he starts by touching her face. He's very tender. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we know about Vito, too, Vito is a gentle, tender type person, right? Compared to these other mobsters, compared to Sonny, Vito's always speaking very softly. We're not murderers, So I think the reason why that sequence is so important is that's really Michael evolving into the guy who knows the Sicilian code and can take over the family. And I think without it, you don't quite get there. And then I think the tragedy scars him. And I think when we see him with Kay, it's not the most romantic scene when he comes back to Kay.
No, he's like, I need you, but I think he just needs her because the Don has to be married.
Exactly.
The Don has to have establishment. And I think it's way less love with Kay and more of who he was before he decided to be a part of the family. But Apollonia, as I'm Sicilian and Neapolitan, if my parents were I'm dating a Roman, and they're and it's but to be Sicilian, marrying Sicilian, and to keep that blood in the family is so important to Italians. The pressure and the perfect storm of I'm in Sicily in my home, marrying a local woman who is Sicilian. This is the perfect family and future for me. Not only do I love her, but I can keep the Sicilian family and traditions in the bloodline, and I'm pure. And with a Catholic marriage, babies, and the Sicilian, you are the king.
Wow. Also, when he's reunited with Kay, he says to her, I've been back for a year. And I think even me as an audience member, I'm like, what? You've been back a year? Where did that year go? Well, you didn't call her? I mean,
Yeah, that was shocking. That was not talked about enough at all.
Yeah, I think you have to go to the book for more backstory on that.
Yeah, I want to read the book, actually, after my research.
When I was a kid, the book was kind of this taboo thing because everybody had it in their house. But David, page 27.
Yeah, right. And if you were in middle school, everyone's like, have you seen page 27? That's
which is one shot in the movie where Sonny
I know
wedding.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because that's when I started reading it one time when I was younger in Barnes & Noble. And I sat there all day after school and I was like, ooh, I don't think I should read this book anymore.
Wait, what's on page 27? I need to know.
It's Sonny banging the bridesmaid against the door. Talk about your contrast to Michael's tenderness with Apollonia.
Here's a great question for everybody. Aside from Vito and Michael, who we all love, who's your favorite character?
Sonny.
Yeah, actually, Sonny.
He's so funny and just I love James Caan. He's amazing.
Yeah. He's really attractive.
Yeah.
So it also helps.
Yes, yes. My only other film experience with him as an actor was Elf.
Yeah.
And I like hated him, obviously, in that movie as a little kid. And then I watched this after that and I was like, like, why am I into this guy?
You should watch Thief.
Thief is really
Thief
good,
is
Michael Mann.
a really good James Caan movie.
Most people didn't know James Caan before this movie. And after the movie, when people found out he's Jewish, it was like, score one for the tribe. Because he was the baddest Italian in the movie.
Yeah, his death always gets me.
Yeah, that was
So
messed up.
I think that was
He's doing something kind of noble. Like
I
he's gonna go like defend his
know.
sister.
I know. I was
But it's-
rooting for him.
Right? You're like, oh yeah, kill him. And then
Yeah.
he gets killed. And I'm like, that's not how it's supposed to happen. That's the bad thing to happen.
Yeah, the first time I saw it,
that
I was
was
like,
wrong.
no.
David, do you remember that scene as being the one everybody was talking about? I feel like the Sonny execution was the scene that everybody was talking about in 1972.
That was a big one too. Although, it reminded me a lot of Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes.
Mhm.
More squibs than ever before.
Right.
One take. All right. So everybody for Sonny, everybody for...
I liked, okay, I get these names messed up and I shouldn't, but it's Clemenza is the guy that goes, leave the gun, take the cannoli. Right?
Yeah.
It was coming up on yesterday and I was like, I'm about to watch Godfather, I'd never had a cannoli. And then I got a pizza and some,
hell?
I wanted to get
Wow.
some spaghetti and some stuff like that, but the delivery spaghetti stuff didn't look really that appetizing. So I got a pizza, but I got a pizza and a cannoli. And I waited till it was time for that scene to come up. And then I get the line, I ate the cannoli, and it was I don't really like cannolis.
You didn't get a good one.
I don't know. It had a lemon. It had a lemon. I mean, I need another one.
Lemon.
You didn't
had
get
an
a good
orange.
one.
You had an orange ricotta. You're not supposed to get
You
those.
got the
Those-
wrong
no.
one.
Yeah.
It said
No.
cannoli on the thing. It said
Yeah,
original.
but some places they don't
cannoli.
disclose. No, it's not original if it has the orange in it.
Go down to Mulberry Street in Manhattan and get a real
Yeah.
cannoli.
Yeah,
And
go to
you'll
New
feel
York.
differently. Clemenza, that actor, Richard Castellano, I think he was the highest paid actor in the entire cast.
Why?
He was a star. They really wanted him. They did not want Brando. And Brando had to agree to take a huge cut in salary.
And the
There-
reason Clemenza is replaced by Frankie in Godfather 2 is because Richard Castellano asked for too much money.
Mm. They're the same guy?
They're different characters, but Frankie was supposed to be Clemenza, which would have made it
Okay.
much more poignant.
Right. Okay.
I'm Kay's biggest supporter, but I think just Diane Keaton playing that role, like the fact that she isn't like the most beautiful ingenue actress in the world, and like the way she's styled so like delicately, and how the lighting kind of like hits her hair like a halo almost, and like the way she's just always in this like flouncy, like virginal style, and the fact that she like works with children. And I love she does this look at him when he's at the wedding describing what his family does, and you can see in her eyes like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? But she keeps this like very demure face. I just love how she can act with just her face, like no dialogue, no words. She's
And it was
so
her first big
good at
film.
portraying. Yeah. And then to like
Is she
see what
the
she
only
did after
blonde?
that. I think so. Yeah.
I just can't think of any other blonde person besides her.
Her like fluffy blonde hair.
Yeah.
She's so funny.
I never thought about it before, but now you see like the halo. I was like, oh, yeah, because it's always coming out of her hats too. Yeah.
She looks like a doll, kind of.
Any other characters anyone wants to bring up in particular?
Anything to do with Marlon Brando. I knew of him before watching this film. And what I did know of him was that he was like under the radar queer and had queer relationships with other male actors in Hollywood.
I think
And
it was
like
bisexual.
discussed. Yeah, but like not a topic
Open.
that he really discussed, you know? So to like know that about him and then see him in this very like masculine, heteronormative role, I was like, wow, I don't know if I could play a role like that. How does he hide himself so well?
When
He
you
played
said
a lot of roles like that.
when you said masculine, it reminded me of Luca Brasi. Is that his name? He's like Mayor First Child. Be a masculine woman.
There's so much
Oh,
good
poor
stuff here.
Luca.
I want to talk for a second about masculinity in the movie and also about attitudes towards women. And this kind of goes to a question. First question. Is anything about this movie dated?
I think it's a timestamp on 1972. I feel like they were calling attention to gender norms and they were calling attention to the way women are treated. And yeah, I think it was a timestamp of 1972. And even so much so that when I started watching it, I couldn't really tell what the time period was at first.
Mm.
And then I saw the cars and then I started noticing the details about the costuming and was like, oh, okay.
Do you think that the attitudes towards masculinity and towards women are 1972 attitudes or 1945 attitudes?
Both.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Italian culture, yeah, I mean, you should stamp I'm Italian in the editing on my forehead. But like, it really is so true to like, not my generation now, but like kind of ended with my parents. It was very much like, we're always a woman and a man getting married in a church. And you had these exact roles you had to play because that's just what is just so ingrained in whether you're back to the old country or here. Like my grandma was very subservient and very in the home, couldn't work. And then my grandpa would get so mad and angry. And my older Italian relatives, very physical. Like when you get mad, it's like slapping your hands on the table and like screaming. And then my grandma would get more meatballs and everything's fine. It's ended now, but I can still see it when I go back to New York and I visit that family and they're so stuck and their house still looks the exact same way with the tapestries. Like it really is a time capsule, but it's also so true.
Maybe it is a bit dated, but what's happening in film and media and culture is not necessarily like what we as a people are thinking and discussing. And at least now I see films and I'm like, y'all are missing the mark. Like we are not talking about that anymore. Like there's a very much like a separation between the people and what's happening in Hollywood. Now there's like this policing of language that kind of censors what I think we could really have discussions about in film.
What's your reaction in that scene where Marlon Brando grabs Johnny Fontaine and says, well, be a man? And I think he might slap him or something. I know he shakes him.
He did slap him to get a reaction out of him because Al Martino was such a bad actor.
I think my personal reaction to that was like, how pathetic and cringe. Why are you trying to uphold this masculinity so strictly? But even his reaction is almost effeminate. He's like wailing.
Mm-hmm. I think just the mob is so ingrained in this old, outdated tradition itself because it's holding on to a government ruled by themselves and they literally left the country because it couldn't work there. It's just so forceful trying to be something that doesn't work. The masculinity and the level they have it at is always up to 11 all the time. But that's what the mob is always up to 11, like meaner, bigger, bloodier. And it's always a facade. And if they're not masculine, like, what are they? They have no idea.
But to me, I mean, yeah, the film takes place in the 40s. And when I was a kid, 1966, let's say I was 7 years old, a guy would have definitely said that to me. I mean, if you cried and you were a boy, somebody's going to come up to you and say, you can't cry, son. Come on, buck up. Be a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was normal up until whatever, the 80s or 90s when it started becoming less normal. So you don't.
I would say push that all the way out to about 2010.
Okay.
You know,
it depends where you are.
Yeah.
It depends what culture you're in.
So it's the ultimate toxic masculinity movie, right? Where
I don't know. Toxic masculinity is not a favorite phrase because I don't think I don't think that we've done enough research or examination about it. It's a relatively new concept. You know what I'm saying? Is being a tough guy bad, or is there still elements of value to that? We saw Full Metal Jacket. These guys need to be killers.
But isn't that true of the story too? Like in this world, if you're not masculine enough, you get killed. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
I think part of the reason we identify with the Corleones is because we never see them running numbers, running prostitutes, embezzling, doing protection.
It's all about loyalty.
Yeah, Don Vito didn't even want to get involved in heroin, and I thought that was very admirable.
Noble. Yeah.
So what a good guy.
Yeah.
Just to like last bit, to bring it back to the topic of toxic masculinity, I think, not even to give my opinion, but I just wondered watching this film if they were being on the nose about bringing out the toxic masculinity for everyone to see and discuss and be like, ew, look how ugly this can be. I think that may have been purposeful, you know?
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's even a part where Michael says, like, the way that my dad did things are the old way. And like, we're going to be legitimate in 5 years and we're going to do something different now. So I think that totally acknowledges that, Jake, like 100%. Like, I think you're right with that it's not working anymore and they have to change it. Do they really? But like, it's definitely an effort made for sure.
Well, that's the point. And when he says that to Kay, who is he really lying to?
Mm-hmm.
Was he lying to her? Or was he lying to himself?
Right.
You know?
I think the reason to have Carlo beating up Connie is not to make a point about toxic masculinity, but it's to show that the code of the family is that, you know, we're violent, we kill people, but you don't hit a woman. You certainly don't hit one of our women. And it gives Sonny a chance to be violent and be a good guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh, yes. I feel like Sonny was Connie's biggest defender. When Carlo told Connie to shut up, Sonny was like, you don't tell my sister to shut up. Even though he's kind of just bossing around his sister. But it's like these things where he's always been like, you know, don't you dare touch my sister, like nothing. And that's why I think I like Sonny too.
Me too.
He is violent, but like he has those morals in the gray area. Even when the photographer, he throws the camera on the ground because he's so mad.
He gives him money.
He's like, oh no, I broke his camera. He's like the look of like, no, that's so mean. And then but he can't respect him enough, so he drops the money. But like, I was like,
I disagree.
Sonny's so cool.
I disagree. I agree that scene is dope, but he didn't feel bad about dropping that camera at all.
No, I think a millisecond he did.
No. And the fact that he threw money out at him like it's nothing is one of the most gangster things that happens in this movie.
It is, yeah.
I think it goes to a generational thing, right? And part of what's interesting about the movie is the change of generations, right? It goes from 45 to 55 and it goes from Vito to Michael. But Sonny is essentially a rich kid who can throw money around. You can't imagine Vito throwing money at the guy, right?
True.
What do you think this movie, if anything, is saying about America in the middle of the 20th century?
I think it's kind of shining a light on the corruption, you know, Hollywood, but the police all involved with the mob. And I read something that Coppola didn't really want to take this, but he was like, if I can make it like biting about the American dream, then I'm in. So I was trying to look at it through that lens while I watched it this time.
So it feels critical to you?
Yes. Yeah.
American dream is like taking it into your own hands and creating your own destiny. And the mob is a very literal take of that. Is of let me to actually pave my own way no matter who gets in my way. So it's kind of like taking the American dream to either work really hard and get your paycheck and get your W-2s, or it's like I'm going to mow down anybody in front of me and take them for everything they got because I deserve it because I'm in America.
Isn't there also a sense that America really can't protect people? And, you know, at the beginning, the Undertaker tells this horrific story about what happened to his daughter. And Don Corleone is like, why'd you go to the police?
Yeah.
Because he believed in America.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like this whole film, speaking of the American dream, is discussing how in the 70s we were like reevaluating what that meant to us, I guess.
Yeah.
The rebellious nature of like the youth culture. to what Kylee said about like, I'm going to take what I deserve.
So is there some way that rolling things back to 1945 and to this family actually creates a sense of comfort, even with all the troubles they go through?
Yeah, and I think I can really relate this back to like now, I think when we have discussions about our current sociopolitical climate, we think, God, like 15 years ago, I didn't have to think about this. I wasn't being held accountable for my impact. And I think maybe that was the feeling people had when they watched this movie was like, remember when we could just do all these things and now we can't,
A couple of things I wanted to touch on. Anyone have any thoughts about the style of the movie?
I mean, I loved it. I love how dark it was, and I like the shadows of people's eyes.
What's the scene where Michael's talking to Carlo and trying to get him to confess for killing Sonny? And Michael, he sits down and like half of his face is in shadow as he's lying to Carlo about how he's not gonna kill him.
Right. And you're thinking, Carlo, look at the lighting. Get a clue.
He's two-faced.
He's just like so two-faced and like, for a second he thought he was going to let him go.
You have Gordon Willis, who had not really done a lot of movies before, who came aboard, fought with Coppola a lot about actors hitting their marks because of the fact that his lighting was so precise. I mean, when I was at film school, we were talking about how you do Gordon Willis lighting. We would build light boxes like his, where basically you put a light up and then you put foam core on all four sides. So you just got that shaft of light.
I think I really liked how different the scenes in Italy were. And it was just like whimsical and dreamy and like the blue skies and all the plants and greenery and then like the giant explosion at the car. It's almost like a dream ending,
Yeah.
With a nightmare. What's the feeling you come away with at the end of the movie?
Just dread.
Despair, dread, yeah.
I'm like, no, it's going to get worse.
Let's watch part 2.
Yeah, like a new beginning. Like it's a horrible new beginning, I guess.
So when the door closes on Kay at the end, we're actually trapped inside with Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And its lack of humanity.
We talk about the American dream, but this movie was about kingdoms, the heads of the 5 families. That's where all the power is.
So Guy, what do you feel at the end of the movie?
I mean, like, I'm not really into gangster rap, but, it's been a big part of my life. And this thing of bow down, kiss the ring, all this shit is mine has been a theme that I've grown up with, and I would use the Tupac, Biggie Smalls example, right? You know what I'm saying? At that time, they were kings. They were kings in hip hop. They had a bunch of money. You know what I'm saying? They were actually around actual gangsters. You know what I'm saying? So those 2 deaths were about taking kingdoms from kings.
Being rich doesn't mean you're a king. I mean, there's a lot in being rich, but being king means you can whack whoever you want to whack. That's what being king is.
So if you're saying that the kind of the big theme for you of the movie is about this idea of kingdom, do you walk away at the end of the movie feeling elated that Michael has succeeded in becoming king?
I don't think you feel elated, but he won. The guy that you've been following, the guy you care about the most, won. And it's not elation because, uneasy is the head that wears the crown. There's never an end to it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better an ending than if he had failed. And, and Barzini was running the town.
And
by
they
the
got
way,
close. And it got close.
Of all the
Yeah.
sons, Michael's the most suited because he's actually been a real soldier and he's actually probably
True.
killed people before.
Yeah, I think Michael was already a killer. Well, he was a war hero. They kept calling him a war hero. So
I'm going to go to Kylee. 2 questions in one. What to you is the most important theme that came out of the movie and how do you feel at the end?
My heart breaks because the theme of the movie, I think, in the most general sense, is family and what do you do for them? When is blood thicker than water? That is your king, is family. And at the end, I feel that weird sliver of pride that he has saved his family, he has protected his family. But then I see the cost of it and what he did to make his father proud, to avenge Sonny's death. He tried so hard to break the mold and to be a hero and go to school and like finally marry a woman who was not Italian or anywhere involved, and to be legit and to be his own man. And in that way, he failed to be his own man, but he also succeeded in being the savior of his entire family, which is pretty noble if you don't put in the context of the mafia.
So that makes it a very ironic ending for you.
Yeah.
Grace, what about you? What do you think are kind of the big themes, and how do you feel about it at the end?
I agree, definitely. Family, and also just the scathing view of the American dream, I think. And also, I do feel very sad for Michael, because even though it's not like your duty to do what your parents want, because Don Vito never wanted Michael to follow in this path, I feel sad for Michael because his brothers couldn't really rise to the occasion because Santino was too hot-headed and Fredo was just incompetent on all levels. So I do feel very sad for him. Of course, I feel like happy that the family's going to be all right, but like Kylee said, at what cost? It's just so tragic to me.
It's interesting. It's like Michael could have been in a whole different world at the end, where he's a senator, he's in the state house, he's in the federal government in D.C. And instead, yes, he is king, but he's king within this very tightly enclosed world.
Yeah.
He loses and wins, but it makes for a great, like God said, the second movie, you're like, I know some more shit's about to go down. So you're like on the edge of your seat, And for Kay, like, I really want to see where she kind of steps up in her own way. There's more here to develop with Kay. Like, she's at her wit's end when that door closes in her face. I need to see what she does next.
Well, in fact, the last decision that we see Michael make in the movie is to lie to Kay.
Oh, yeah.
Bald-faced
Do y'all
lie.
think she knew? Do y'all think she knew he was lying?
I don't think she wanted to believe he was lying.
Yeah, she's like lying to herself.
If you put yourself in any of the characters' shoes, the question is always loyalty versus betrayal. And the characters that are loyal tend to get rewarded, but not always. So Luca Brasi goes to do something very loyal for Vito, and he ends up in that incredible scene where the bartender stabs his hand to the counter while he gets garroted from behind. And the look on the bartender's face, by the way, is straight out of like a horror movie. I mean, he's like enjoying it. So I think that the tricky thing here is you say like, okay, well, where would I fit in this family? Could I be Tom? Could I be Michael? Could I be Sonny? Who would I be in this family? And it all seems so dangerous. So kind of the feeling at the end, to me, on one hand, I feel a little sense of relief that I'm no longer in that world. But on the other hand, it's almost like almost a cynical smile as you realize what's just happened. And as the door closes on you, it's like, ha, 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 joke's on you.
Yeah.
That's kind of my feeling about the movie.
I have to confess, there's a part of me that like wants to have a Godfather like that I can go to and say, look, I want justice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
A mentor, let's say. All right, let's do some other research over here. Grace, you took a look at the book?
So the best-selling book by, is it Mario, they say? Not Mario? Mario Puzo. Puzo was a gambler, and his debts pushed him to write The Godfather. He was really struggling for cash, and then Paramount agreed to buy it before the book was even finished. They agreed to buy the film rights, and it ended up selling over 9 million copies in just 2 years. But I thought it was funny, Puzo, his research for this mob story, he just went to Vegas and was asking pit bosses, like all kinds of crazy questions. And they're like, who is this guy? And that's actually how he heard the phrase, like he made him an offer he couldn't refuse. He just was asking some random pit boss in Vegas and he told him some funny story. So Paramount didn't really want to take the risk on this film, even though they had the film rights. They were kind of hesitant about it, but once they saw how many copies it sold, they were in. And this book really redefined crime fiction. It set the blueprint for mafia stories, and it shaped public perception of the mafia. And also so much like pop culture influence, the famous quotes, make an offer you can't refuse, leave the gun, take the cannoli. I heard that quote so long ago, like leave the gun, take the cannoli, and I had no idea what it was from. And I watched The Godfather. I was like, oh, I've heard that. And this book really just created two of the greatest films ever made, and they were very influential, and they changed Hollywood and storytelling forever. So it's on my reading list for sure. I really want to read it. I also was reading that there's a lot more sex in the book too, so that's interesting. It made it really popular among all kinds of people, not just men looking for a violent book.
All right. Kylee, did you do some research into the making of?
Yes, and I'll preface it with saying there's so much on the internet and on Paramount Plus with The Offer and a whole book about the making of The Godfather. So if anyone really wants a deep dive, you can for hours. This is a very short abridged version, so forgive me for the hours of research I could not do. Production began March 29th, 1971, and it wrapped August 6th, 1971. It was 77 days long shoot, including shooting in Sicily and New York, like going on location. And it actually finished ahead of schedule because Coppola was just like, let's go. Because he was not having a good time at all. I watched an interview with him this morning on CBS, I think Good Morning it's called. Someone asked, like, how do you look back at that time in your life when you're making it? And he was like, well, when you look back at this time that hurt you, like, does it still hurt when you think about it? And yeah, like, it still hurts because the studio gave him so much pushback. They didn't trust him. He wasn't the Coppola we know now because of this movie. So even he said that he would hear the crew shit-talking him and not believing in him on set. And it just kind of made him be like, everybody's fighting me on this and I don't know what to do. Because the only reason he took the job after saying no was because George Lucas said to him, our production company's gonna die or you take this movie. So you either do it and we have American Zoetrope or we don't. So like, do it. So he's like, fine, I'll do it. And like everything in his being was just saying, don't do this movie. And it ended up being amazing. But yeah, he had to fight the studio on Al Pacino because Al Pacino was just a New York stage actor and they wanted Robert Redford. And he was like, no, we need an Italian New Yorker. Like, nope. And then the studio goes, okay, well then cast a Laurence Olivier as Don Vito. He's like, no, I want Marlon Brando. And they go, oh, he's such a loser. Don't do it. Like, you should get maybe Frank Sinatra. And he's like, no. So he literally had a fight to get the two most iconic roles to be Brando and Pacino. The studio was also like, it's not violent enough. We're going to get you a violence coach to make it more violent. And he was like, oh my God. So he wrote in the whole Connie and Carlo fighting scene while she's pregnant to be like, is that enough violence for you guys? Like, I'll have a man beat a pregnant woman. And they're like, okay, great, thanks. They're like, this is perfect. And it's like, okay, so that got him out of the violence coach. The studio on everything fought him. And it wasn't until they saw the dailies of the scene in the restaurant of the train tracks that the studio was like, okay, we believe in you. Just do your thing and finish it up. They had a fight to make it Italian-American and not Hollywood Italian-American and to try and make it real and true. And a lot of producers finally came on and were like, let's just make this as authentic as we can. Oh, they also took out the word mafia from the script and La Cosa Nostra. The mafia was like, these words you cannot include in this film because we're the mafia and we say so. And there was a lot of weird mafia involvement, just the way that they were policing how this film would be made. And obviously they ended up kind of actually loving it. And there are stories of people from the mob talking to Coppola and being like, this was great. This is amazing. And yeah, it just has such a crazy lore behind it. And again, you can watch the show, you can read the book, you can read the interviews. There's so much behind the making of the film, but it was just as crazy as the film itself.
Guy, what about the reception?
The Godfather came out number one, of course, with $133 million. But also the Conquest of the Planet of the Apes was also one of the top 20 films of that year. It was a year that was filled with great movies. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars. It won 3 Oscars, the Best Picture joint, Best Actor, and Screenplay. In 2009, it won Best DVD Collection. It won a Saturn for Best DVD Collection.
Nice.
DVD.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Worldwide,
What are those, Grandpa?
Yeah, what the hell is that? It sounds like an
Right.
8-track.
Right. Since 1972, it did 243 million worldwide. And then, it had these re-releases, and I think it was 97. This is a movie that's been out forever, and people already seen it a bunch of times. Worldwide, it made 4.2 in a re-release.
Yeah, I went to see it with someone who had never seen it before, and it was revelatory for them.
Wow.
Wow.
It's a real treat to sit next to somebody who's never seen it before, and you're trying to
Yeah.
keep your mouth shut and not say anything, you know?
The original budget was $6 million, and they made a gang of money off of it. You know, the opening weekend, it made $300,000, but I guess it just ran forever.
Yeah, back then movies would run for like a year and a half in the movie theater.
It made $1 million a day at some point. I read that. It was the first movie to ever do that.
Yeah, it broke a bunch of box office records for a long period of time, but then eventually other movies did better.
I think for a period of time, it was the #1 grossing movie of all time, surpassing Gone with the Wind, but they would also say if you adjusted for inflation, maybe not. All right, David, tell us a little bit about the director that the studio did not have faith in, Francis Ford Coppola.
Poor Francis. He was born in 1939. His mother's father had been a composer in Italy, and his father was a flautist with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. And they chose his middle name because his father had a job as orchestra director for the Ford Sunday Radio Hour, and also because Francis was born in Henry Ford Hospital. So they moved to Queens when Francis was 2, and he grew up in New York City, but contracted polio and spent a lot of hours bedridden and missed a lot of school. So he would entertain himself by writing and performing homemade puppet shows. And that may be the beginning of his career as a dramatist. He attended over 20 different schools, apparently. Wasn't a great student, but he was very interested in science and the arts. And he became a theater major at Hofstra in New York, where he met James Caan and Leni Kazan, who he later cast in his movies. So he moved to LA and enrolled in UCLA Film School and started making very cheap exploitation flicks, nudie films, as they called them. Eventually got hired by B-movie king Roger Corman. And he was rewarded with his first feature directing assignment in 1963. It was a horror film called Dementia 13. Somehow that led to a job co-writing a biopic about General George Patton, which was going to be directed by the great William Wyler. So Coppola wrote the writing partner, and they opened the script with a fourth wall breaking monologue, Patton speaking in front of a giant American flag. The studio hated the scene. They fired Coppola. They took the scene out of the script, and the project just languished for about 7 years and came back to life when George C. Scott agreed to play George Patton, and Planet of the Apes director Franklin Schaffner was set to direct it. George C. Scott had originally seen Coppola's draft of the script, and he loved the opening monologue and told the studio that he was only in it if they restored the opening. So they put it back in. The picture got released, became a huge hit, swept the Oscars in 1971. And that opening scene became the most iconic scene in the picture. And Coppola won the Oscar for Best Screenplay. So that put him on the short list to direct The Godfather, which Coppola did not want to do. He considered the book sleazy, and he wanted to direct kind of European-style art films. But as Grace mentioned, his buddy George Lucas talked him into doing it. And the studio that didn't really believe in the picture enticed him by offering him 6% of the gross. So when the picture astounded everybody by becoming the biggest grossing film of all time, he suddenly had $30 million on his hands, which was a fortune, and it changed his life. He was able to make the European-style art film. He wanted to make The Conversation, and then they had him make Godfather 2. He won even more money and even more awards.
We'll be right back with our panel's recommendations and ratings for The Godfather.
On top of building this fake volcano for months, I give my daughter Smarty Pants vitamins to support her brain health. So her science fair project sounds more like and less like. And while I may say it's not a competition, of course it's a f***ing competition. Choose Smarty Pants vitamins to support your kid's brain health and save the science fair. Shop on Amazon, smartypantsvitamins.com, or at Target today.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, It's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We're going to get to Megalopolis and the making of Apocalypse Now, but let's come back to that.
So this is where you tell us who, if anybody, you would recommend this movie to, and our 4-star rating system. Remember, 4 stars is an A+, a movie that's not only great, but you would put on your top 50 list of all time. 4.5 being an A-list movie. 3-star movie is an A-, a great movie with some flaw. 2.5 stars for a B+, and then a not so great B movie would be a B-, and drops off from there. I don't think that anyone's going to be rating Godfather 1.5 or 1 stars. So let's start with Guy. Tell us, who would you recommend this to, and what's your rating?
Can you even call yourself an American if you haven't seen The Godfather? I think we already talked about it. I mean, this is the movie. I mean, like, this is the standard. This is what all gangster movies they aspire to do. It's 4 stars.
4 stars. Nice. Jake, how about you next?
I think I would recommend this movie to someone who is interested in learning about like Americana and film culture and film history. Someone that I could see becoming a film lover. I think I would be excited to share this film with someone who has like a budding interest in film, because it's films like these that for me really like created what I would put in my like Rolodex of films that I love. And I would also give it like 4.5 stars.
Well, there's no half, no 4.5. You can 4 as your top.
4.
It's
But I
been a while.
appreciate the enthusiasm.
He didn't see, hadn't been in a while.
Like, I give it 10 stars.
This one goes to 11.
Exactly.
Grace, what about you?
I would recommend this to any man, really. I think it's an important film for... No, I don't mean it like
I'm
that.
sensing a theme.
No, I think it's great for anyone to see, obviously, but I think it's an important film for men, especially just because it shows that like unchecked masculinity, even if it is somewhat like glamorized. I think it just really shows some truth to like men's struggle. And a lot of people think I'm like some man hater, but I'm not. And I feel like it's like a great example of like having sympathy for the dark side of the toxic masculinity, And I would give it 4 stars as well. It's just so beautiful. It's a perfect little time capsule of the era it was made, and also their view on like the 40s. So I love seeing how like different decades do past decades. And it's just the set design, production design, costumes. It's just gorgeous. So definitely 4 stars from me.
Nice. Kylee.
I recommend this film to anybody who maybe has ambition, anybody who likes pasta and pizza and goes to Little Italy in New York. Like,
Yeah.
it's a movie that I think is just so phenomenal that everybody and anyone can find something to love about it. And if you think you know what you're talking about and you don't like this film, whatever, grow up like I did. And everyone should see it because you're going to love it, because you yourself at every part of your life will be a character in this film, no matter how different you are or how different you look or where you're at. And obviously from that description, it's a 4-star movie for me. I think it's one of the rare perfect movies that have ever been made.
Nice. David.
I would recommend it to anybody whose evening won't be ruined by seeing a bloody horse head. and I give it 4 stars as well. And, one of my definitions of a 4-star movie, besides the ones that you mentioned, are that there's no point in the movie where you're just sitting there going, I have to wait for the good thing to come. It's like the whole thing is so good. It's all the good thing. This is one of those few movies, I don't know, maybe there's 20 of them that I can think of, where I'm not even saying, I'll wait for the good part, No, this is so good, I don't want this to end. And then as soon as it's over, there's another good thing. And it's just that way all the way to the end. So that to me is a great watching experience. Got to be 4 stars.
Oh my God, I love the way you said that. I'd recommend this to any adult. And I think that Grace and Kylee, kind of your reaction when you were kids, not really getting it, but really getting it when you're adults, kind of speaks to this. I feel like this movie was made at a time when America was at its most literate. People still read books. There weren't too many channels on the TV. If you wanted to go see a movie, you had to go out, sit there and surrender. You couldn't fast forward and rewind. So America, as Jake was kind of speaking about earlier, I think was really looking for complexity in a way that it wasn't before. And I think that if you're somebody who, as an adult, wants a complex story, this isn't just, I mean, look, the movie's highly entertaining, but it's not just like kind of a throw-off comedy or something where you go to have a laugh and feel good for a few hours. You may feel great after this movie, but you're going to feel this depth of the storytelling. Because as David said, every moment counts. Watching The Wedding this time, how the first people are singing only in Italian. It's the mother, it's the cousin, Coppola's cousin, singing in Italian out there. So you get this sense of, oh, this is the old world still. By the end of the movie, we're in the new world. And I think that this storytelling is so extraordinary, and it is easily a 4-star movie for me. One I've come back to over and over again with no diminishment of pleasure at all. We are closing season 2, and I know seasons are a little bit arbitrary, but for those shows that you were able to participate in, I'd love to know everybody's favorite film from the season. I'm going to start with Guy.
All the episodes that I've been on were a film history class, and all of them were the delight. And it's kind of like The Godfather. I can't really just say this was my favorite moment. If I had to pick the favorite movie of this season, I still can't say the title. Someone else say the title of this movie. La
Dolce Vita. La Dolce Vita.
That one. It was the most challenging. It was really.
Jake, what about you?
The first thing that came to my mind was Mommy. My favorite is Blue Velvet, 100%.
Mine too.
I say mommy all the time now. Every different when I'm on an airplane or when I'm asking someone for something, I always think of that. I'm like, mommy. When I'm like not getting my way. But I just think David Lynch is one of my favorite directors of all time. And thank you, Grace, for introducing me to his magical worlds.
My pleasure.
And sometimes I think about that movie and like when I'm having a dark time in life, I feel like I sort of enter like this David Lynch world where everything's very like colored by morose chaos almost. And I think that he really captures a state of mind in his films that I can fall into so easily. Yeah. Blue Velvet, just so good. I think about it like every other day. I think of that scene.
And I hope you're not saying to people, baby wants Blue Velvet.
I mean, not in public. I'm just kidding. I think if I were to be a filmmaker, that I would like to capture is like that idea of like forcing a captive audience to be disturbed and uncomfortable, just like for the sake of it being disturbing. And I think David Lynch, I imagine he's like, when he sees an audience reaction, he's like cracking up. He's like, hell yeah, they hate this. But yeah, Blue Velvet for me.
Grace, why don't you pick up on that?
Yeah, I agree. Blue Velvet is my favorite from this season as well. Rest in peace, David Lynch. David Lynch is just incredible the way he taps into the collective unconscious. I recently just saw Fire Walk with Me at the Frida Cinema.
Oh,
I went all alone. It was amazing to see it on the big screen.
That's a very powerful movie.
Like about 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah. So anything David Lynch is going to be my favorite. So
yeah, same.
Kylie, what about you?
Mine actually was La Dolce Vita as well, because it was a movie that I was not super excited to watch it because I didn't love 8.5 at my previous watch. And I was just like, oh, a really heady movie that's just going to be so pretentious. I love parts of it, but I wasn't fully sold. But I think it was coming on here and discussing it with you guys that totally transformed the way that I thought about it. And it was one of my favorite experiences I think I've had throughout on this podcast, because I came in with one point of view and I left completely enamored with the film. And it's been so fun. And I always recommend people like, please watch it and then please call me and let's talk about it for hours like we did on the podcast. It was such like just so fun. It reminded me of like my favorite times in film school when you just get to geek out. And I feel like I was just having so many revelations and light bulbs going off when I was talking to you guys all about it. And that was like my favorite part was not just the film itself, but like talking to everybody about it and coming on here and being like, oh my gosh, like how wonderful that was. It was great.
I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it tonight.
Me too. I'm going to watch it.
And then call me.
Okay.
I will.
And call Kylee.
Yeah.
David. I love both the films that were mentioned. And the only 2 films this season I liked more than those 2 were Rosemary's Baby, which I'm very partial to. And then my favorite, also as a New Yorker, was The Godfather.
We averaged out as a 4-star movie. I mean, like, if we gave this movie anything less than 4 stars, wouldn't they just cancel our podcast?
Yeah. Someone put a head out on us, if you know what I mean.
Mark, what was your favorite movie from this season?
My sentimental favorite, the one that I cannot stop watching every year over and over again, is Out of the Past. Robert Mitchum, Jane Greer, Kirk Douglas, the snappiest dialogue, the most beautiful black and white photography, the most doomed romance. Yeah, so noir is my favorite genre, and Out of the Past is the movie that I think is the epitome film noir.
You got me on a Robert Mitchum kick after that movie. I forget what I watched after, but he plays the scary priest. And he's got the love and hate like on
Night of the Hunter.
Yes, it was so good. And then he had love and hate tattooed on his knuckles, like in Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, great pick. All right, The Godfather is available with a subscription to Paramount Plus, and for rent or purchase on a lot of other services. It's also available on several DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K editions. You can find Film Generations on audio wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and if you want to see our faces, along with clips and stills from the movie, watch us on YouTube. If you like our show, please tell your friends, rate and review it so that others can find us as well. Film Generations is an ElectraCast production. I would like to thank our panelists, Kylee, LaRue, Guy Lewis, Grace Chapman, Jake Flowers, and our co-host and producer, David Tausik. Our executive producers are myself, Mark Netter, and my partner at ElectraCast, Peter Rafelson. Now, I spoke at the beginning of the show about our programming decisions, and one rule David and I have enforced is only 1 film per director so that we can keep expanding our range and covering more ground. However, for our next episode, the first Film Generations of Season 3, we're going to break that rule. We're going to pick up 2 years later with 1974's surprise critical success, arguably the greatest sequel of all time, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in his Academy Award-winning performance in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather Part 2.
Yes.
Will the combined impact of these 2 epics blow away our panel of young film lovers like a hailstorm of Tommy gun bullets, or will it feel like just a little too long at the same wedding? Well, please join us again and find out in episode 301 of Film Generations.
ElectraCast. Hey guys, it's your girl Yasia. I want to share some really exciting news with you. I just dropped my first ever single, Spell on You, off my upcoming debut EP, Devil's Room, on RM Records. It's simply devilicious. Check out Spell on You wherever you listen to music. Bye for now.
I never thought I'd fall in love like this. It's time to close the chapter, but I think I needed this.
ElectraCast. Welcome to the Candle Power Hour. Come with us backstage behind the scenes of show business spanning over 4 decades and bringing you the experiences that can only be told by the people who were there.
Our guests are from the A-list, the F-list, and everyone in between. Get set for some of the most insane, hilarious, and inspiring stories you will ever hear.
I'm Mercury.
And I'm Diego.
Your host for the Candle Power Hour.